Justice Akatsuka, also known as Seigi, saves a stranger from a bunch of goons and is rewarded with a mysterious stone that dissolves into his hand and turns into a tattoo. The next day, Seigi and his friend Toko head to school, but Seigi bumps into a woman named Izzy in an awkward encounter. At school, Seigi learns from his friends about an American sealing combat device in the Japanese underworld that takes the form of a tattoo. After school, Seigi runs into Izzy again and she steals his phone, after which she leads him to a warehouse. He eventually catches up to her and she fights him after learning about his tattoo. She dominates him easily but calms down after almost killing him. Then she shows him her own tattoo and explains that these weapons can activate superpowers upon specific triggers, her own trigger being chalk. Later, as Seigi trains with his grandfather, we learn that his father is dead and Toko is the only close friend he has. Meanwhile, Izzy and her associate Tom listen in on his conversations as Izzy had planted a bug on him. Later, she follows him and Toko, but is spotted easily. Seigi tries to question her about why she's interested in him, but then they're attacked by a sealed human named Theodore Wilson, whose tattoo gives him super strength. Seigi fights him, but is about to get killed. However, his tattoo gets triggered, and he kills Wilson instantly. Izzy learns he has the Void Maker tattoo, which is a rare triggerless tattoo. Seigi faints and wakes up in his room where Izzy and Tom are present. Izzy reveals she's part of the Blue Moon Army, and her mission is to retrieve tattoos like this. Seigi learns that the Void Maker tattoo is highly unstable and can end up killing him if he's not too careful. He also finds out that Izzy is actually older than Tom, but her body stopped growing because of her tattoo. The next day, Izzy joins Seigi's school as a transfer student and stirs controversy after her questionable actions with Toko. Later, Tom and Izzy tell him he should join the Blue Moon Army if he wants to stop an upcoming war. He eventually agrees, after which he is told that his trigger is blood. Meanwhile, Princess Aryabhata and her comrade Ajita invade the kingdom of Selinistan and she kills her parents so that she can assume control. She sends her warriors, also known as Brahmin, to go find Seigi and his tattoo. Later, Seigi follows Izzy's map and ends up at Tom's house. He's followed by Toko, who is suddenly attacked by a mysterious woman named Iltatmesh, also known as Il. She possesses Toko's body and goes ahead to stab Tom and attack Seigi. Meanwhile, Izzy sets up some traps at school, but is then attacked by R.R. Lurker, who is also part of Aryabhata's Brahmin army. Toko finds herself in an alternate spirit world where she sees how Il ended up meeting Aryabhata. Izzy manages to create a distraction and avoids facing Lurker so that she can head back home. Seigi refuses to hurt Toko as she is not in control of her body, but then he's about to get killed. Luckily, Toko orders Il to stop and manages to hold her off long enough for Tom to use his own tattoo to drag Il out of Toko's body. Seigi finally releases his Void Maker, but is stopped by Toko, and he solos an entire section of the house by accident. Il is forced to retreat as Izzy makes her way back. Later, we see that even Toko has gotten a tattoo on her forehead, but they cannot understand the origin. Tom reveals that he only has a removable tattoo copy that can cancel the powers of other tattoos. The Blue Moon Army is filled with such copies. In order to keep him prepared for future attacks from the kingdom, Izzy trains Seigi. Later, Izzy meets her colleague Lisa from the army and discusses a possible strategy with her to take down Aryabhata. However, even Il and Lurker are making their own plans to take down Lisa. Il attacks Lisa's army base with a brand new sword and takes down the entire squad except for Lisa, who fights her with her own tattoo. An alarm is activated and both Izzy and Seigi head to the spot after getting notified. However, Izzy is stopped and trapped by Lurker, who has used a hidden device to cancel her tattoo's powers. Back at the base, Lisa struggles against Il, so she tries to self-destruct to avoid getting caught. Izzy tells Seigi to rush to the scene, but he is horrified to see what has happened once he reaches. He finds Il, who has captured and trapped Lisa. He tries to reason with her, but she just knocks him away and takes Lisa with her. Later, Izzy inspects the scene and finds Lisa's phone. Tom sends it to Zama headquarters for analysis so that they can track her location. Seigi and Toko are called to the headquarters, while Izzy heads out and Tom tells Toko that her tattoo might be connected to ill. Seigi is tied up so that he doesn't risk his life, but then he triggers his void breaker to escape the facility, even though he ends up swallowing the entire building in the process. Now Izzy catches up to Lurker and they face off. As they fight, Il also shows up and kills Izzy's soldiers, thus putting her in a tricky situation. That's when Seigi arrives and starts fighting Il, but due to his inexperience, she dominates the battle. Meanwhile, we see that Lisa has woken up and she makes her escape from Il's hideout. Toko tries to help Seigi in the middle of his battle, and he manages to activate his Void Maker to defeat Il, but he doesn't kill her as a sign of his morality. That's when Aryabhata shows up and has a chat with him before leaving with Il. Meanwhile, Izzy struggles against Lurker and is about to be taken down, but Lisa shows up and helps her defeat him. Before they can imprison him, Aryabhata arrives and takes him away. In this process, everyone learns that Aryabhata also has a triggerless tattoo. The next day, as Izzy and the others try to come up with a plan, Seigi and Toko run into Aryabhata, who proceeds to harass Toko after defeating her in a ping-pong game. She talks to Seigi and tells him that she's the one who wants to stop the war and asks him to join her. Seigi questions Izzy about her intentions, and she tells him that the US Army wants to use the tattoos as an alternative to nuclear weapons. After this, Seigi runs into an ex-Brahmin named Bibi, who knocks him down and seemingly kidnaps him. He takes Seigi to inspect one of Aryabhata's facilities that are experimenting with a noise canceller device, which has the ability to disrupt the source of a tattoo, thus negating its powers. Bibi makes Seigi destroy the facility's entrance with his void, and then reveals that he also has a triggerless tattoo. Upon further questioning, he says that there are 4 people in total who have it. They correspond to the 4 ruins that hold the key to controlling all the tattoo sources. Now, Aryabhata, along with a Brahmin, Kal and Il, visit a cave where she puts herself inside a ruin to access its key. As Bibi and Seigi make their way inside the facility, they meet Dr. Karam, aka Mr. Genius, and his assistant Manisha. Karam reveals that he's managed to mold the tattoo sources of his subjects and shows off his breakthrough by making them attack Bibi and Seigi. He also mentions that the subjects have bombs inside them that will trigger once they are unconscious, but Blood uses his powers to easily take them out while also defusing the bombs. After talking to Seigi about his concept of justice, Bibi states that he doesn't believe in killing and knocks out Karam and Manisha, but now Aryabhata gains access to the ruin's key and becomes even more powerful, as this is the second ruin she's added apart from her own source. Later, Bibi meets Izzy and tells her that Aryabhata will be able to control the whole world if she manages to get to the other 2 ruins. Then he trains Seigi to master his powers and meets with Dr. Weissman, who turns out to be the same man Seigi had rescued earlier. He makes him alter the source code to his tattoo. Seigi and Toko join Izzy and Lisa on their mission to stop Aryabhata from taking control of another ruin. They meet with other members of the army, including Colonel Sanders, Captain Johnson, and Lieutenant Leo Burns. The army unleashes its firepower upon the kingdom, and while it works at first, Kel and her maid show up to hold them off and cause serious damage. The enemy is also shown to be using noise cancellers, so the sealed copies can't inflict any damage on them. Aryabhata senses danger and sends Il to join the battle by transforming her into a massive saber-toothed monster. Seigi faces off against Cal, but she incapacitates him, and this is good enough for Aryabhata to show up and torture him. Cal focuses her attention on Sanders and Izzy and takes them down as well. Things are looking bad for everyone, but then Bibi shows up and faces off against Cal after mocking her for falling in love with him, whereas his heart had always belonged to Izzy. However, Aryabhata tells Seigi that it was always her plan to lure Bibi here so that she could extract his key. The troops retreat as Il wreaks havoc and Leo is tasked with keeping Lisa safe. Seigi tries to unleash his void, but finds that Aryabhata is currently in control and is blocking him from doing so. Then Il attacks Lisa, and Leo sacrifices himself to save her life. Bibi and Cal get into an intense battle, but Bibi starts to struggle against her as he's overusing his tattoo's power. He's almost done for, but then he and Seigi form a connection that allows Seigi to break free from Aryabhata's trap. Then he and Bibi unite to defeat Cal, but Bibi leaves her alive as per his policy. With no strength left inside him, Bibi is consumed by his own source and Izzy is devastated. To make matters worse, Il kills Stoko as she tries to make her way towards Seigi, and it completely breaks him down. Aryabhata retreats for now after seeing the damage her kingdom has taken, and the others go back to their base, where Weissman reintroduces himself to Seigi. He reveals Bibi's plan to eliminate all the tattoos of the world and also tells Seigi that there is a small part of Bibi's soul inside him due to them having triggerless tattoos. Now that he has more clarity, Weissman takes Seigi inside a chamber where he's able to access Bibi's memories. We're taken to a flashback where we see how Bibi had become a Brahmin for Aryabhata. He teams up with a spy named Vama, who is also the king's secret lover. Upon further discussions, the king confesses to Bibi that he isn't Aryabhata's biological father. Instead, he had created her by using a specific system. On a later mission, Bibi and Cal bond, but eventually draw the line when it comes to killing other people. Now, Bibi and Vama break into a research facility at Samsara, where they meet Aryabhata's sister clone, Kuduli. She goes on to explain how Aryabhata was created as the only successful experiment in the tattoo dimension, whereas all her other clones simply live without purpose. Kujuli also says that the clones are a part of Aryabhata and can feel what she feels. Then Bibi finds out that Aryabhata only wants revenge on the king for starting all of this in the first place. Bibi and Vama try to escape the facility as they are attacked, but Vama is killed in the process. Bibi eventually manages to escape from Aryabhata, but pushes himself too much, thus giving way to the Void Maker to start consuming him slowly. After watching all these memories, Seigi takes inspiration from Bibi's philosophy and vows to extract revenge from Aryabhata. A year has passed, and we see Izzy and Seigi training in Weissman's secret hideout. Seigi learns of a message that Aryabhata has sent and immediately goes to see what it's about. She informs everyone that she will be going after another seal in the Grand Canyon and reveals that she still has Lisa as a hostage. Weissman wants to plant a virus inside Seigi that can stop Aryabhata's plans, so he doesn't want him to go out, but Izzy forces him to allow it. As the army members make their way, they come across Lurker and his team members. Even Lisa shows up, but she's possessed by ill at this point. A soldier named Tamaki manages to fight off some of the Brahmin, but then we see Aryabhata breaking into Santa's office and taking control of it. Then she proceeds inside the canyon to bond with the ruin. Seigi makes his way there as well, but comes across Cal, who is now using a noise canceller. Meanwhile, Izzy manages to knock out Il from Lisa's body and poisons Lurker with her bullets to finally end his shenanigans. As Cal and Seigi battle, we learn that Aryabhata will unite with all her other sisters once she successfully merges with the four ruins. Now, Cal summons her source, but Seigi manages to defeat her by teaming up with Bibi's soul. It's too late though, as Aryabhata has absorbed the ruin and unleashes her new powers upon Seigi. She dominates the battle, and things aren't looking good for him. Just as he's about to get crushed, he gets saved by Izzy, Tamaki and Tom. Tamaki and Izzy face off against Aryabhata, while Tom takes Seigi away. However, she's too strong for them and unleashes her powers to transform into a huge monster and break out of the canyon. Sanders tries to blow her up with a nuclear bomb, but it doesn't work. As Seigi is escorted in a helicopter, he drops down from it to save Izzy. Now we learn that Weissman had already planted the virus inside Seigi, and he activates it to allow his source to transform him into a monster, just like Aryabhata. Seigi and Aryabhata engage in a lengthy battle, while Kujuli and the other clones suffer from the collateral damage. Determined more than ever to defeat her, Seigi uses his martial arts skills to seal the deal, and he finishes off the source. However, Aryabhata manages to escape before he can deliver the final blow. The army celebrates for now, but the mission isn't over, as Aryabhata is still alive. And that's the end of our recap of this exciting manga series of Taboo Tattoo. Hope you enjoyed the show, and please like, share and subscribe to stay updated on more recap videos to come. Take care and goodbye for now.